Hello, people of the internet, this is Shaky Jake, and I really need a catchphrase. You are watching Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, with the restored content modification, where previously on KotOR 2, we explored the refugee sector and made our presence known there, but we haven't actually done anything there particularly other than just explore for a bit. And we fortunately didn't have to stay for too long because they don't mind us coming or going, to be honest. So I decided to return to the Ebon Hawk, which hasn't been stolen by that guy yet who claimed he used to own it a couple of parts ago. But I figured I might take a short detour with some of the party members before I commit to the refugee sector again, because there's a couple of dialogue choices and a couple of options I want to select. So, Kreia.
Yes? Have you come with questions?
That's the only reason I ever come to you, Kreia. I want you to teach me more about the Force.
Very well. What is it that drives you?
A really good script, which this game has. You taught me of sight. Is there anything else you can teach me?
When I spoke of sight before, there is a similar handicap that tends to occur among those strong in the Force. They neglect their skills. Some believe they no longer need them. The greatest wielders of the Force are those that maintain some grounding to the more physical realities of the universe.
What do you mean?
Some wielders of the Force have mastered piloting, others the ability to fix and repair and build, from simple moisture vaporators to more complex machines such as droids and vehicles. One's ability to understand the human body and its ailments, for example, can make your powers within the Force more complete, more powerful, when you attempt to repair the cellular damage of another. And others have mastered the more subtle work of politics, persuasion. Do not doubt that a galaxy may be conquered with words, a republic overthrown, and an empire made. When such skills are honed, one's abilities with the Force become that much stronger. My warning to you is this: do not rely on your companions to compensate for your weaknesses in skill. There will be times they will not be there to help you when needed. What skill would you say is your greatest strength?
Before I answer that question, apart from the fact that Kreia is talking about taking party members with you because that is this game's biggest mechanic, or one of the game's biggest mechanics, she's also almost foreshadowing Luke Skywalker and Emperor Palpatine years before they're born. You know, the first description about being Jedi that are skilled with piloting and machines, that's pretty much Luke. And then the whole Jedi who are politicians and an empire being born out of the falling republic. I've only just realised she's hinting at Luke and Palpatine, and I can't believe I never picked up on that sooner, but my ability is to perceive the environment.
And what skill would you say is your greatest weakness?
Well, obviously it's stealth, relying on not being seen.
Then my task before you is this: take your greatest weakness, devote effort to it, strengthen it, and I will show you how it shall strengthen your power in the Force.
I've never actually done this before, from what I can remember, so I'm going to see if Kreia's going to put the money where her mouth is and see if she actually lives up to this promise. We'll see. Very well, I shall take this lesson to heart.
As you learn and train and test yourself against the galaxy, all your skills have a chance to improve and grow as well. When you devote some of that training to your weakest skill, you will know.
I'll think on this and return when my weakest skill is stronger. So that's one conversation done.
Yes. Have you come with questions?
The next conversation I want to do, which is again through the Force,
very well. What is it that
is
drives
a
you?
follow-up to a conversation I had with Kreia before about learning to listen. Before, when you taught me to listen, I wish to continue that lesson.
Very well. Sit with me.
Do I have to?
You have brushed the surface thoughts of another. It is a start. Calm yourself. This time, silence your own thoughts. Keep them still. Imagine the waters of the room of 1,000 fountains, each stream suddenly falling silent and still. Imagine the ice of Telos, cold and smooth as it gathers upon the plateau. Now, stretch out. Feel the ship around you. Strip away the metal. and see the souls and minds of those that fill its corridors with more thoughts and dreams and worries than can fill the space of this ship.
As my feet walk from the ashes of KotOR, I shall not fear, for in fear lies death, and...
How could the Jedi leave the Republic? Was it because of the Civil War? Is it possible that they...
From the first movement flows the second. Strike, repeat, circle one's opponent, repeat, faster, quicker. If Father had been faster. If only Father had been faster. If I was faster, I would no longer be the last of my sisters. But does Atris love him? Jedi do not love. Does Atris hate him? Jedi do not hate. This journey is harder than any she has sent me on.
Switch the face of the +1 -1 card. The totals are 9-10. Switch the face of the +2 -2 card. The total is 8-11. Switch.
Your command echoes still, General, and I obey, as I did at Malachor.
As my feet walk from the ashes of KotOR,
Switch the face of the +1
I shall
-1
not
card.
fear,
The totals are 9-10.
for in fear
Switch the face of the +2
Your command
death.
echoes
card.
still,
The
General,
total is 8
and I obey,
Switch.
as I did at Malachor.
It's kind of cool, actually, how Atton has the most innocent-sounding thoughts out of all of the party members. And whilst Visas was saying her thoughts, she never normally faces away from the camera, but because her character model did, I only just realised that Visas is actually pretty much bald underneath her gown. Well, not her gown, her robes or whatever. So that was a nice view that I've never seen before. That sound in the background, what is it?
Not now. Focus on my voice.
Malachor.
Now do you hear me? Truly hear me?
No, I hear a guy that sounds very suspiciously like KotOR. I hear you. This is incredible.
You have taken the first steps on a much longer road, Exile.
What about the droids?
The droids cannot be read in such a way. As for the alien who served with you in the war, its thoughts are more difficult, requiring many translations in meaning. Often it is better to read their impulses and images than their spoken thoughts. That is why he is deaf to you. I have found his impulses are cold, like a dead weight. His thoughts are black.
Curious that Kreia can't hear him, and she assumes that we also can't hear him because Kreia is that arrogant to make assumptions about our Force abilities. She's also a little bit xenophobic, based on, Star Wars lore. But I did hear something from KotOR. I'm not going to lie to you just to keep your ego in check.
Indeed. It is strange that I did not.
Maybe it's because I know him better. I served with him.
Perhaps. I would not put much weight on such things.
What, it's a pretty good assumption. There was also something wrong with Atton's thoughts.
Of course there was. It is because Atton was not playing Pazak, yet he counts cards in his head. At times he will list off engine sequencers, memorize the hyperspace routes on the other side of the galaxy, count the ticking in the power couplings even though they are fixed. At other times, he will imagine certain base lusts, certain indignities. It may be Atton is far cleverer than he feigns to be. Or perhaps he is simply a fool.
I'm glad she stopped there, because I thought she was going to tell me what Atton's turn-ons were at that point. Thankfully, she stopped. People are allowed to think of whatever they like, Kreia. I mean, it's their thoughts. You can't really stop them from thinking of whatever they want to think, even if it's morally wrong. I mean, people do stuff like that to distract themselves from how grim reality can be sometimes. And when it comes to Pazak, I mean, Atton's obviously obsessed with Pazak. It sounds pretty similar to that time I played Tetris for far too long, and I ended up dreaming about playing Tetris because I just spent quite a while playing it, so I couldn't think of anything else. And at that point, that's when I knew I had to stop playing it. And that was years ago, but it was, interesting. I imagine Atton has something similar. Perhaps, maybe I will go see him and see how his Pazak game is coming. So our force points have increased thanks to that, so before we speak to Kreia again, we might as well go and talk to Atton, see what we can get out of him through that, particularly when we met those two Twi'leks last time who said, don't trust Atton because he's shifty. We're not going to confront Atton about that just yet, though.
Something up?
We got two options here. I mean, one I always read as being, oh, I've cottoned on to your secret, whereas the first one, you could sort of imagine this as being a bit more innocent. What are you doing, playing Pazak in your head again?
Passes the time. It's better than listing off engine sequencers, memorizing hyperspace routes, or counting ticks in the power couplings.
Repeating exactly what Kreia said, almost. There are no ticks in the power coupling. It's fixed.
Of course it's fixed. And that's why you should count the ticking in the power coupling, too.
You're not making any sense. Well, don't do that to me, Atton. Make me feel guilty.
Why do I play Pazak? Alright, I'll show you.
If it's a friendly game, sure. I like the animations here, by the way. I think they've been modified slightly with the restored content mod, but I do like the touch here. You can actually see both characters holding the cards, which I don't think you see anywhere else particularly. Now, let's see if we can actually win against Atton, because I'm curious if I can. I'm pretty sure you can beat Atton, but again, it's random. Waste a card here. You can forfeit this game. You don't actually lose anything if you do. Let's try and... No, okay, fine. I was trying to see if I could get lucky there. But you don't have to worry about losing credits, so that's not a problem. I got very lucky there, well done. I didn't get lucky there, so that makes up for my previous instance. Now, you think realistically Atton should beat me because he's much better? Yeah, he's beaten me. Not a problem, I'll take that. I don't mind being defeated by somebody really good at Pazak.
Good match. Now, what are you thinking about right now?
All of these options are very good, and I would love to say all of them, but unfortunately I can't, so I'm going to go with the option that best represents me when I play Pazak. I was trying to compute the totals to 20.
Right. And that's why I play Pazak in my head.
Because if you don't, you've left the door open, and anyone could walk right in.
That doesn't quite work when I go to the dentist and I try and imagine what DVDs and Blu-rays and games and albums I own, and there's some person prodding around my mouth and my teeth, you know, trying to do a checkup or whatever. Let's be honest with Atton, because I like Atton, and also option number 3. Based on what we experienced last time, I think that's a little bit too soon to say, so even though it's good foreshadowing, but Atton, before, I felt your mind, with Kreia's help. I'm sorry.
Of course you did. You see, Jedi, light or dark, do it, more often than you'd think. But I never heard one say they were sorry before. That's a new house rule.
You took that rather well. You play Pazak to shield your thoughts.
No, I play Pazak in my head. But while I'm doing that, it's a lot harder for someone to walk in.
Is that something you can train me to do?
No. I can only teach you to play Pazak. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Then I want to learn to play Pazak.
Good. Now you understand. Alright, I'll deal then. If you're ever fighting someone who has the power over your mind, whether light or dark, play Pazak. Start listing hyperspace routes, recite engine sequencers, and when they try to use their powers on you, suddenly it's not as easy as they thought. Jedi do it all the time. And when they walk in the dark places of your mind, they'll use it to hold you by the throat.
Interesting how Atton says Jedi there, because I'm assuming he doesn't really know much about the Sith, but who knows. So if we do this, Atton actually helps us out and gives us a permanent +1 to willpower saves, and this is an underrated moment in the game. I actually think this is one of the finest bits of dialogue in the actual game. So there we go, got extra willpower. And we lost an item. I don't know what it was. I'm assuming it was Pazak cards, but who knows. Let's go back to Kreia and see how she's doing.
Yes? Have you come with questions?
Yeah, do you want to play Pazak with Atton? Because he just destroyed me. What else can you tell me about the Force?
Very well. What is it that drives you?
Ah, we can actually do another bit of this. Before, when I heard the thoughts of my companions, I heard something like an echo.
Ah, I had wondered if... But your powers are strong indeed. Now is not the time to speak of this. Wait until you have more of the galaxy within you, and we shall speak again.
What do you mean?
Every step on our journey shall bring with it discoveries. With persistence, you shall grow in the Force. And for every planet we reach, all that we touch with our presence, you shall grow, for you will have no choice.
I guess that's gonna trigger once we've finished finding all the Jedi Masters then, based on that dialogue, but I will double check after every planet. I will return when I am both more experienced and have travelled to all the planets of the Masters. But I want to talk to you again.
Yes? Have you come with questions?
Yes, more about the Force, please.
Very well. What is it that drives you?
We could discover more Force forms and more lightsaber forms, even though we're not using a lightsaber. We can learn more about the crystal, the bond. Okay, nothing there then. More questions?
Ask.
Let's see if we can... Oh, T3, I forgot about him. Yes, because Kreia destroyed him for some reason. Do you know what happened to T3? Because he seems perfectly fine now.
Betrayal, and by a machine that I will not abide. Machines. Always did Revan use them to inflict his will on the galaxy, whether in war or in assassination. His passion for such tools, for things dead to the Force, defies me. He would have loved a human droid such as you, dead to the Force. A shell that would carry out his orders. It is no matter. It is a device, and now it is broken.
Now, he was walking around perfectly fine a couple of minutes ago. And, yeah, if he wanted a human droid, I'm sure there's websites for that. I mean, people order robot brides all the time, I'm sure, in sci-fi land. But yeah, let's see if she has anything else to say. And she is describing HK-47 in a way, because Revan designed HK for that specific purpose.
Yes?
No, I don't think... Actually, no, I can't learn anything more about the Force, can I? I need answers.
Then ask.
And I will answer, unless if your influence is not high enough, or low enough in some cases. Because you can actually completely alienate a party member, and then they'll still tell you everything, as long as you've got completely negative influence. It's very funny that way, the way this game's influence mechanics work. I can't actually remember what I've asked Kreia so far, although I know for a fact I haven't asked this question. And this would be a perfect time to address it, because this part appears to be more of an interlude now at this point. Kreia, what are you? Are you a Jedi? A Sith?
Does it matter? Of course it does. Such titles allow you to break the galaxy into light and dark, categorize it. Perhaps I am neither, and I hold both as what they are, pieces of a whole. Know that I am your teacher, and that is enough.
So, if we have enough influence, which I believe we do, we get a cutscene here, and I know that in the original game this cutscene looked abysmal. But when the restore content mod was happening, or when the whole movement of trying to restore content for KotOR 2 happened, there were some very talented people out there who recreated the cutscene from scratch in the same engine as the actual game, as opposed to using another engine for the cutscenes, and made it look 10 times better. The only downside that I can remember is I'm sure it doesn't always use that particular version, so this might still use the original cutscene, and if it does, that would be a shame, because I am tempted to try and replace it with a much higher resolution version, but we'll see. Then what were you?
What do you wish to hear? That I once believed in the code of the Jedi? That I felt the call of the Sith? That perhaps once I held the galaxy by its throat? That for every good work that I did, I brought equal harm upon the galaxy? That perhaps what the greatest of the Sith Lords knew of evil they learned from me? What would it matter now? There is only so much comfort in knowing such things, and it is not who I am now.
If the past is as important as you claim, then I would hear yours. And let's see if we get the good, high-quality version or not. Oh no, it's the old cutscene. What a shame.
There are dark places in the galaxy where few tread, ancient centers of learning, of knowledge, but I did not walk alone. To be united by hatred is a fragile alliance at best.
I love this cutscene, by the way, though. The cinematography, the soundtrack, Kreia's lines, everything about this is amazing.
But my will was not law. There were disagreements, ambition, and hunger for power.
And hunger for a much better resolution copy of this cutscene.
There are techniques within the Force against which there is no defense. I was cast down, stripped of my power, exiled. I suffered indignities and fell into darkness. Learn from me, my mistakes, and use that knowledge to become greater than I. That is all I ask of you, and that is all I desire. In you all my hopes rest for the future, for the Force.
Now, unless Kreia is being deliberately vague with the exile there, this is the point where if this was real life, I'd be telling Kreia to get the hell off my ship because she is a Sith, or was a Sith, based on what she was saying. And I don't want to have a former Sith on my ship, because let's be honest, that would be quite difficult to stomach. I need more than that, Kreia.
If it means so much to you, then this I swear to you upon my life, upon our lives, that when your training is complete, I will answer everything. There shall be no more shadows between us, only truth that exists between master and apprentice.
Again, I'm not quite sure. It's a really good cutscene, and it's fantastic to flesh Kreia's character out a bit more. But I question why Kreia would say she used to be a Sith as well as a Jedi here, and then still be allowed to travel with the Exile and everybody else. Because surely the Exile at this point should cotton on to the possibility that Kreia could be using him, or her if you're a female Exile. Everything about this just seems odd to me, because it's obvious to the player, but it doesn't seem obvious to the character that you're playing. And even though Kreia basically spells it out to you, your character just seems willfully ignorant about the whole thing and is like, yeah, sure, keep doing what you're doing, even though you were once very evil. I have more questions.
Ask, and I will answer.
It does suck that the cutscene didn't play in the high-resolution version, though. I swear once when I downloaded the Restore Content mod, it played a much higher-resolution cutscene, but for some reason the Restore Content mod version I have now plays the original vanilla low-resolution cutscene. I'm sure I didn't dream it up. There were a couple of minor differences, but it was pretty close to the original. I honestly can't remember what I've asked. Well, seeing as you've just told me about your past, what do you know about Visas's master?
He, if he can truly be called a man any longer, is one of the Dark Lords that pursues you. I do not think he knows what you are. Not yet. He spared the Miraluka, and that may have been the last shred of feeling that exists within him. Keep his slave close to you. I suspect there was a reason he spared her, and perhaps a reason that she survived when the rest of her people and the Jedi did not.
Plot armor? Visas is not his slave, not any longer.
Entertain what illusions you will. I am too tired to argue them with you.
What? I just said... Oh, whatever. He is no longer a man.
One cannot have power of that magnitude that her master possesses and still think and perceive the universe as we do, as most of us do. I had hoped that you would not have to confront him, but her presence here has changed all that. You will have to meet him in battle. You must be prepared to sacrifice the blinded one. Perhaps her death will buy you the time you need to deal with her master.
Oh, bloody hell. Kreia wants me to kill off this ass. Which is tempting because I'm not a big this ass fan, but I never do that because it seems a bit pointless when this game's relatively straightforward anyway. I will never do such a thing, or was that going to lose me influence? You know what? I can take it. I will never do such a thing because I am honourable.
Entertain what illusions...
Oh, shut up, Kreia. How did he destroy her homeworld?
It is a technique that is almost as old as the Sith themselves. It is a means of severing connections between life, the Force, and feeding upon the death it causes. It cannot be taught. It can only be gained through instinct, through experiencing its effects firsthand.
And he used it to kill an entire planet?
Yes, and he fed upon its destruction. It will sustain him for a time.
I don't understand how he hasn't conquered the galaxy with that kind of power.
Because it is not something that can ever truly be controlled, and it leaves nothing to conquer in its wake. And it rules him, not the other way around. It has its own will, its own instincts.
How can anyone have that kind of power?
Power? Do you think so? You would be wrong. There is no strength in the hunger he possesses, and the will behind his power is a primal thing. And it devours him as he devours others. His mere presence kills all around him, slowly feeding him. He is already dead. It is simply a question of how many he kills before he falls.
Which is a very creepy idea when you think about it. That kind of power is impossible.
Nothing is impossible with the Force. It is an energy that flows through all living things. And like energy, it may be harnessed, channeled, and consumed at times. It may even be a substance that can burn and ignite. Do not think of his power as one would a weapon, or one of your warships of the Republic. It is terrible, but it is still a subtle thing. The sect of assassins that chase you feed on the Force. What he does is simply the pinnacle of what they could achieve in time. And that is why they and their techniques must be wiped out. No one again must experience and learn what her master did.
Thank you, Desktop, for minimising KotOR 2 for me, for no reason whatsoever. Really appreciate that game. Or Windows, I should say. Must be something going on in the background. I haven't had that happen to me for quite a while. How are they able to drain the Force?
As much as one may use the Force to bolster the wills and strengths of others, the reverse is possible, though not often used. Instead of sending one's will through connections in the Force, instead such connections are drawn upon, fed upon, and drained completely.
But all life is touched by the Force.
Then you understand how terrible such a power is, and why it must be ended. It is an empty road to the dark side, and by traveling it, the price is death before one's time. He is a breach in the Force, capable of consuming the lives of those around him. Sometimes the touch is slow, as it is with his crew.
Of all the times to interrupt this game, why would you pick to interrupt Kreia? That's just rude. At least interrupt a character that's not compelling in any way. Because Kreia is very compelling even if you disagree with her methodologies. So he feeds on Force sensitives.
It is not something he can direct or focus, much like hunger itself. He is more of a hole in the Force than a living thing. Force sensitives and worlds rich in the Force draw him. The Miraluka world was one such place. That is why where the Jedi gather, Jedi will die. He will feel it, unless they mask their presence. But KotOR called out as a beacon to him, and he could not resist it. And he cares nothing for the Sith, or its teachings, or the Jedi. And when the Jedi are dead, he will feed on the galaxy, the Republic, and eventually consume the Sith as well. There is no future in the empty galaxy he sees, and that is why he must be stopped. The breach must be sealed before his power grows beyond what even we can hope to stop.
Why did he spare her?
Perhaps he is bound to her, as I am bound to you. If so, there may be a death, served by hers. You must be prepared to sacrifice the blinded one. Perhaps her death will buy you the time you need to deal with her master.
Yeah, okay, fine. We've already had that conversation. Anything else?
Ask.
I think we'll leave the discussion with Kreia there for now. Never mind, I'll be going now. Oh, we lost influence because we said we weren't going to kill Visas. I really don't care, to be honest. I need to look back through the earlier recordings and see what I'd actually asked Kreia, but that almost feels like homework in a way, because Kreia has a lot of conversations with the player, because in many ways she is the main character of this game, not the Exile. You know, yeah, we'll talk to Visas quickly.
My life for yours.
And when I say quickly, it could potentially mean another half an hour. We can teach her stuff, but we can also do that with the Handmaiden and the Disciple, because they're now Force users. I've got questions for you.
I will answer what I can, but my answers may prove useless to you.
I don't think this will succeed, but I'm going to try it anyway. I've heard your species is blind. How are you able to see?
My people once had the power to perceive events, to see through the Force. That sight may manifest itself in many ways, and at times, I may affect the abilities of others to see as well.
Which is what Visas did to me when we first fought. You sound as if that sight is lost to you.
My sight has been damaged. What I have taught you, it is not the full extent of the perceptions of my people.
When did you teach me anything? Okay, so here, this is an ability you can get, Force Sight, and it's actually a cool power if you get access to it. It allows you to see how light-sided or dark-sided every single character in the game is. And you get some interesting results with certain characters. So she has a limited ability to see through the Force, and Foresight is a first-person Force power, which sounds quite cool. Will she teach it us? Or do we not have enough influence yet?
My master.
Oh, we got enough.
When he
Good.
showed me my world, showed it to me as it is. It hurt. And since that moment, it has been difficult to perceive the Force as I once did. But after traveling with you, I feel that perhaps there was a gift in it, hidden beneath the pain.
Okay, cool. So she will teach it us, potentially, based on the influence we have. Option 2's a bit harsh, so when one endures, it gives hope to others and themselves.
Only when one suffers do certain truths become evident, both of the galaxy and of the self. And I feel you are an example of this.
And can we learn this power?
If you wish to know, perhaps it is possible to show another what my people see, what I see. First, you must close your eyes. The surface of the ship, its sights, will only be a distraction. Now, in your mind, reach out. Listen for my breathing. Do not focus on the sound, but the life behind it. Imagine its energy, its texture, in tandem with the breathing. And then in your mind, step back from the image and see what remains. There. It is not as difficult as I thought. You learn quickly.
You're a much nicer teacher than Kreia was. So we now have Foresight, so it tells us here that we, apart from gaining bonus Force points and Foresight, we also now get to perceive the alignment of others, and we can see through certain obstacles. That last bit I didn't actually know. I can't remember how often that comes up, but that's a cool addition.
It will take effort to maintain such sight, but you now have that power. And with it, you can use it to see life around you in a different way, as I used to see it.
I see. Oh, there's a pun. I see. And she's got no eyes. Maybe a bit too soon. I'll be going now. So we gained influence, light side points, and our force points have increased, which is lovely. The experience points is actually minor in comparison. How close are we to... Oh no, we're still pretty far away from being fully light-sided. And we'll see if T3's okay, because we probably should ask him how he's holding up after Kreia attacked him for no reason whatsoever. T3, where are you? Oh, there you are. Can we actually ask him? Apparently not. Okay, fine. Apparently we don't care about T3, it seems. And let's see how Atton's doing. Yeah, this is definitely going to be an interlude. I think this has been a nice side thing from the main plot.
Something up?
Although it does have a lot of involvement with the plot. I have some questions for you.
Alright, what did you want to know?
Why are you lying to me? No, well, we're not going to do that just yet. Yeah, we're going to leave that for another time. So, no, I'm fine. Ignore me. We're going to keep the mystery of Atton for a little bit longer, because it would feel more satisfying for the narrative, even though gameplay-wise it's going to be less satisfying for me personally. But yeah, there we go. I'm going to leave it there for now. And next time we're going to take on the refugee sector, see if we can make the living situations for the refugees there a little bit more bearable, see if what we do with the exchange and what we do with the Seriko thugs, because it could go any which way. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.